All right, welcome, everybody. Happy Sunday. It is Super Bowl Sunday. Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on Patty Mahomes, Andy Reid, and the Kansas City Chiefs in today's Super Bowl matchup in Tampa Bay, Florida. Obviously, but we have so much more to get to. We have Carson Wentz updates because the saga never ends, does it? No, late into the night last night, some new updates as in regards to the Carson Wentz rumors to the Bears um, did become more prominent, relevant, and the trade package did increase quite a bit, and to my surprise and shock and disturbance a little bit. It made me a little bit disturbed, to be completely honest with you. How do you guys feel about my hats? I like my hats. You know, I like my hats. Um, so the new rumors are this. The new rumors are this. We're talking about Carson Wentz to the Chicago Bears for first round pick, Nick Foles, Tariq Cohen, and then apparently there's a second round pick from the Philadelphia Eagles involved. So those were the rumors late into the night last night. Now, let me just go ahead and say this, however, is that Tariq Cohen, it is reported, did speak to his GM, and those rumors were denied. So Tariq Cohen came out and pretty much just tweeted, don't believe what you hear. And guys, I got to be honest with you. I believe Tariq Cohen. It doesn't really make sense. It doesn't make sense for the Philadelphia Eagles to go out and trade for Tariq Cohen. Now, while I would understand if it were like 2 years ago before we discovered Boston Scott, that would be a different story. But we don't need Tariq Cohen. We have Boston Scott. And yes, is Tariq Cohen a little bit better in the return game? Oh, yeah, he is. He's a lot better in the return game. But we don't need Tariq Cohen. We don't need Tariq Cohen. We have Boston Scott. We have Miles Sanders. And we have a couple options to have a serviceable third running back as well. We do have Corey Clement. We have Jordan Howard. And, so the trade just doesn't make sense. I want to talk about a little bit more the possibility that Nick Foles is included in this trade. It's not set in stone, regardless of what we talked about yesterday in yesterday's stream. It's not set in stone, and I don't feel like we elaborated on it enough. And by that I mean the dysfunction of bringing Nick Foles back. Now, while we all may love Nick Foles, Nicky Six, Big Dick Nick, it is so dysfunctional to bring Nick Foles back into this organization. It is absolutely astronomically insane. It's absolutely astronomically insane. It really, really is. Guys, they want Jalen Hurts to start. The idea is that they're going to go with Jalen Hurts. Everybody in the city of Philadelphia loves Nick Foles. If not as a starting quarterback, as a backup quarterback, and as a person, and just as a fellow, just as an overall dude. And so, yes, if Nick Foles came back to the city of Philadelphia, we would welcome him with loving, open arms, and it would be the Carson Nick Foles saga all over again, guys. The only difference is that it's Jalen Hurts and not Carson Wentz. Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie are causing so much dysfunction. It is out of this world. It is insanely out of this world. It really is. It really is. They are ruining this franchise. They are ruining this franchise. And I really do. I want us to really focus on this Carson Wentz thing before it goes down, because now is the time to do it. Because once it goes down, once the trade goes down, guys, we'll be able to do a few streams about it here and there. But after it goes down, we have to start looking towards the future. We have to start looking towards the future and finding ways to move on. Okay. So we're going to exhaust this like nobody's business. And today is a day where we're going to talk about the draft as we have been. We're going to talk about the trade possibilities as we have been, because I am starting to hear some reports out of San Francisco that San Francisco might be jumping in on the trade action for Carson Wentz at the last second. And we're talking about something big, talking about their first round pick for Carson Wentz, which is the 12th overall pick in the draft, because they want to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl, obviously, and how Tom Brady just doesn't seem to age, does he, guys? He just doesn't seem to age. And I still have not made up my mind on who I want to win. In any other universe, if it weren't Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, I would be rooting for Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. But because it's Tom Brady and he has the ability to cement his Michael Jordan status of the NFL today, we're gonna keep talking about that. We're gonna talk about possible. We're gonna speculate. Today's a day about we're gonna speculate. We're gonna speculate until this thing goes down, because that's exactly what I want to do, and that's exactly what seems to be going on. Tarik Cohen is not going to be a part of this trade package. I believe it when Tarik Cohen says he spoke to his GM and the reports were denied. I believe that. It makes no sense for them to move on from Tarik Cohen. It makes no sense for us to trade for Tarik Cohen. So I believe in Tarik Cohen. And then outside of that, guys, it's just going to be open conversation. We can kind of talk about whatever we want. We can talk about whatever we want. It's all good and groovy here. It is all good and groovy here. So let's go ahead and get into it. So I want to talk about the 49ers. So yes, there are the reports of the fact that the 49ers seem to be jumping in at the last second here, late. Or maybe it's not late at all. And maybe something is going to go down late in the week next week and not early as we expect. I mentioned this, that I expected Howie Roseman to steal some headlines on today. It is kind of an unspoken rule, and after listening to John McMullen kind of say this on his show, the Jacob Radio Show, I believe it's called. It's an unspoken rule to kind of release headlines on Super Bowl Sunday. You kind of just don't touch the Super Bowl. You kind of let the Super Bowl be the Super Bowl, and then if you have something to release, you do it the following day. So it's likely that if something is already done, it's going to go down tomorrow. But do you guys think that Indy will come out with a counteroffer? And what will they offer in a counteroffer is the thing. What will they offer? Can they offer Darius Leonard? Do you think that he is a non-tradable asset for the Indianapolis Colts? I think that he's pretty close to that. I think he's pretty close to a non-tradable asset for the Indianapolis Colts. But hey, how bad do you think the Colts would want Carson Wentz? I don't think Chris Ballard is going to give up 2 first-round picks for Carson Wentz. That's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. It was never going to happen. Howie Roseman was never going to get 2 first-round picks for Carson Wentz. But here's the thing. If the Bears are not actually offering Tarik Cohen, but the package is the largest from the Bears, then what exactly are we talking about here? So we're going to exhaust this Carson Wentz thing. Listen, guys. This thing is not Doug Peterson's fault. It was not Carson Wentz's fault. I had this thought late last night. Carson Wentz was the first franchise quarterback that Howie Roseman ever drafted without knowing how to nurture one. And that's a big deal. You have to nurture franchise quarterbacks after you draft them. It's not just about throwing money at them if they do well for the duration of their rookie contract. It's not just about that. Your job doesn't end there. If you whiff on some draft picks to attempt to get when those draft picks were used to get your franchise quarterback support, then you still have not gotten your franchise quarterback support, have you? Because you whiffed on those draft picks. You whiffed on them. You whiffed on them. And that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. And here's the other thing, too. There was a rat 2 years ago who came out and said something about Carson Wentz. Now, whether it was Nelson Aguilar, whether it was Alshon Jeffrey, or whoever it was, and I believe it was one of those two players, they needed to find out who it was, and they needed to find out who it was quickly. And they didn't. They didn't. They let it slide. Because they don't care. And I've said this before. They don't care for this reason. It's probably not because they just don't mean to care. It's probably just because they don't see the importance of caring. And that is this. Howie Roseman's not a football guy. Jeffrey Lurie's not a football guy as much as he wants to be, as much as he thinks he is. He's not. Andy Reid's a football guy. Now, when I say Doug Peterson was not the problem, that doesn't mean that I want Doug Peterson back in Philadelphia. I really think that there were better coaching options, and I think that I really think that the staff that we have now might bring some more versatility to our offense. I really do. But the problem is not out of Philadelphia. The problem is still here. And if they bring back Nick Foles, things are going to be so much worse. So much worse. Things are going to be bad. Things are going to be bad. Things are going to be really bad. And they've caused dysfunction from every level of the franchise, guys. They've caused dysfunction from every level of the franchise. Let's start with Deuce Staley, for example. 2013, when the Eagles needed a coach and the Andy Reid got fired. Deuce Staley interviewed for the head coach job then. They gave it to Chip Kelly, obviously, and Chip Kelly was their guy, and Deuce Staley probably wasn't ready then, right? Deuce Staley wasn't ready then. And that's fine. It's fine. But Deuce Staley remained as the running backs coach, right? Until finally Chip Kelly got fired. And then he interviewed for the head coaching job in 2016 to go along with Doug and didn't get it. And they gave it to Doug Peterson. Now, Deuce Staley remained as the running backs coach, right? And then 2016, 2017, the Eagles have Frank Reich as offensive coordinator. And then finally, after we win the Super Bowl, Frank Reich gets promoted to head coach in Indianapolis. And then guess what we're left doing? We're left looking for an offensive coordinator. And Mike Groh and Deuce Staley interview for the job. And then it comes down to Mike Groh and Deuce Staley for said job. And they give it to Mike Groh. When Mike Groh is a world-class wide receivers coach, with notoriety all around the league. They give it to Mike Groh. Deuce Staley comes in prepared, more prepared than he's ever been up to that point. They give it to Mike Groh, and the offense starts to decline. And the wide receivers start to look horrible. Nelson Aguilar turns into Nelson Aguilar. Again, Alshon Jeffrey drops the biggest pass of his career in the playoffs against the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans. And then finally, they decide not to bring back Mike Groh as the offensive coordinator. Oh, but what did they do though, guys? What did they do? They threw the assistant head coaching the assistant head coaching title at Deuce Staley and kept him as running backs coach once they gave the offensive coordinator title to Mike Groh. And let's be honest, that's a throwaway. It's a throwaway title. It's a slap in the face. You want to know why it's a slap in the face? Because if you're talking to a stranger about who Deuce Staley is, you don't bring up the fact that he has an assistant head coaching title. You bring up the fact that he is a running backs coach, because that's what people know him for. He's the running backs coach. So the assistant head coaching title that they gave him was a complete fucking slap in the face. And then 2 years later, Doug gets fired. And we're left looking for a head coach. And Deuce Staley interviews for the head coaching job. And the reports are this: he's got a strong shot. Players, current players from the locker room are tweeting, texting the owner, calling the owner. We want Deuce. We want Deuce as the head coach. Former players, Chris Long, Darren Sproles, Malcolm Jenkins, come out and say Deuce would be a great head coach for the Philadelphia Eagles. They should hire Deuce Staley. And in a moment and in a flash, everyone thinks it's going to be Deuce just for that reason. And if they didn't hire Deuce, it would be a complete catastrophe, because of the fact that current players are saying that they want Deuce Staley. And lo and behold, what did they go ahead and do? They hired Nick Sirianni. Now, look, I don't have problems with Nick Sirianni. I am excited about his potential. But Deuce Staley sensed the dysfunction too, guys. So much so that he took the same position with an organization who hasn't made the playoffs in a very long time. Chip Kelly kicked Howie Roseman to the fucking boiler room, guys. On the other side of the building. Because he knew how strong his word was in the ears of Jeffrey Lurie. He knew he was a cancer. Howie Roseman is a cancer. Andy Reid came out and said it the other day when he was asked how Doug Peterson's doing. Andy said Doug is doing just fine. I bet you that Doug is having the fucking time of his life. Doug is having the time of his life. You want to know why Doug's having the time of his life? Because he's rid himself of the fucking weasel. That's why Doug is having the time of his life. And guys, Carson Wentz is thinking the same exact thing. This wasn't about firing Doug Peterson. This wasn't about firing Doug Peterson. This was all about the fact that everyone from that staff that was on it during the Super Bowl year does not trust the little man from Brooklyn, the little weasel, who we know as Howie Roseman. It is that simple. Now, I don't know where the fuck the healthy, positive culture went. I can't tell you. But it went somewhere. And I will tell you this. If they bring back Nick Foles, Franklin, my brother, what up, my man? What up, brother? Franklin's in the house, guys. You like my hat? I thought I'd do something goofy. If they bring back Nick Foles, it is going to be the Carson Wentz, Nick Foles saga 2.0. The only difference is it's going to be Jalen Hurts. It's no more goofy than what's going on with the Eagles. Well, hey, that's exactly what I was shooting for. I even got my little wristbands here. I feel like I should be in like an early 90s beer commercial or something. Yeah, if they bring back Nick Foles, it's going to be the Carson Wentz, Nick Foles saga 2.0 all over again. It really is. And Franklin says, yeah, it's no more just, it's not going to be any more dysfunctional than what's going on with the Eagles. Well, that's exactly what we're talking about. They bring Nick Foles here. We know how much this city loves Nick Foles. And whether or not we love him as a starting quarterback, we love him as a backup quarterback. And we love him as a person. And we love the positivity he brings to the city. We know how much he does for the city when he's here. We know that he loves living here. And there are going to be people screaming for Nick Foles. And I'm glad that Franklin is in here now because it's just like we were talking yesterday, man. We know for a fact that Jalen Hurts will win that quarterback competition. But here's the thing. Just because Jalen Hurts will win the quarterback competition, it will not silence the Folesian Society. And yes, I'm quoting Philly 500. It will not silence the Folesian Society. They're going to call. They're going to call for the start of Nick Foles. They're going to do it. And it's going to piss Jalen Hurts off. Look, we know how type A Jalen Hurts is. We know how much of a type A personality Jalen Hurts is. But guys, or Franklin, so was Carson. Carson was a type A when he got here. With what you're talking about, though, the only difference I can see is Jalen is coming off his first year, no contract. Carson Wentz had a contract and all of that. Carson didn't have his contract until 2018. So Nick Foles came in the offseason leading up to the 2017 season. And isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? That means that for Carson's best season, that first year that we brought in Nick Foles was a no thought to Carson Wentz. There was no thought. And so that means it wasn't getting to him. So that means and so that's perfect evidence of the fact that him watching Nick Foles lead his team to the Super Bowl and winning it did affect him. I had this on top too. I started to sound like a broken antenna. No, I'm talking about Jalen Hurts coming in when Carson Wentz already had a contract and was promised the starting role. Jalen Hurts doesn't have a guarantee that he's going to be the starter. Yeah. I see what you're saying now. Yeah, no, that's true. But here's the thing, though. He does and he doesn't. It's kind of unspoken, right? Like Jalen knows that he's better. Like Jalen knows that he's in store for the starting role. He knows that. And here's the thing. We know that too. And we know that they want to, or at least I think so. Like, doesn't have a guarantee that he's going to be the starter in the face of the Philadelphia Eagles. Right. Yeah, no, we think so. But there is kind of this general consensus, though, Franklin, that that he will be. He will be. There is a general consensus that he that some people in the organization want him to be, and that's how he's approaching. That's how he's approaching this offseason. Now, with Carson Wentz out of the picture, it makes it a lot easier. But of course, we know Jalen is going to fight his ass off regardless. But that's not the point, though. That's not the point. Nick Foles is Nick Foles, and Nick Foles has already set up settlement within this city, and that's the point. Nick Foles is already walking into open arms, basically. It's like Brian Dawkins coming home, kind of. Not the same, obviously, so don't jump on me for that, but it is kind of like that. It is kind of like if Brian Dawkins became a coach for the Philadelphia Eagles, I would be absolutely ecstatic. One, because Brian Dawkins is my favorite player of all time for the Philadelphia Eagles. Do I think Nick Foles coming to the Eagles would be expecting to take the starting role? I would be upset if he. No, I don't think he expects to take the starting role. I'll tell you this: I would be upset if he didn't believe he had a shot to compete for the starting role. I mean, that I would be upset if he didn't think he had a shot. But I don't think I mean, obviously, there's one thing that we know about Nick Foles. He's heavily, into his faith, and so he, believes that God has a plan for him, and he's going to do everything he can, and kind of just, let it sit how it sits. But he's going to do everything I'm sure he's going to do everything he possibly can to compete. And that's kind of how he addresses all situations, right? I mean, they had a crazy situation go on in Chicago. Like, Nick Foles went down, then Mitch Trubisky comes back in, plays well, then Mitch Trubisky goes down, and then Nick Foles comes back in, and da-da-da-da-da-da. So, and his entire career has kind of been like that too, if you think about it. 2013 with Chip Kelly, like Vic started the year, and that was a hot and heavy quarterback competition. Like, they both played well in the preseason. Like, they both played like very, very well in the preseason. But Vic was given the job. Now, obviously, we all saw that coming because that's the type of quarterback that Chip loved to use. Obviously, coming from Oregon and coaching Marcus Mariota. But Vic went down and Foles came in, and Foles went 27-2. And then, the rest is history. He goes, he comes back for the 2014 season and does decent, obviously doesn't do as well, but then he does go down to injury, and Vic comes in, and does Vic come in that season? Because that's when we saw Mark Sanchez too. Anyway, it doesn't fucking matter. The point is this. They bring back Nick Foles. It's dysfunction. It's dysfunction all around. I don't even care if they don't bring back Nick Foles. It's already dysfunctional enough. But you know what? It would just be the cherry on top of all dysfunctional situations. Like you might as well bring in more dysfunction at this point, because it can't get any more dysfunctional than this. It really can't. It really can't. Like, it's so bad. It is so bad that, like, we're so far away. We're so, like, you asked me yesterday, Franklin, do I think we can win the NFC East as it stands now before the draft? And I do. But there's one big fucking shadow that stands in the way. And that is the dysfunction of this franchise, and it continues to unravel, and it continues, and it's like here's a perfect image. It's like you start off with a small puzzle, right? And it's complete. The puzzle's already complete. But then it starts to break off one piece at a time. And then suddenly, the more pieces that break off, you realize that it's broken off into so many more puzzle pieces, than the initial state of the completed puzzle. Like, that's what's happening. It's like the blocks are building. The blocks are breaking off and they're building. And it's absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. It's like the Tariq Cohen rumors, which I talked about in the beginning before you jumped on. Like Tariq Cohen came out and denied him. Tariq Cohen came out and said he spoke to his GM and then jumped on Twitter and said, "Don't believe everything you hear." And Franklin, guess what? I got to believe in Tariq Cohen. I believe Tariq Cohen. I believe in Tariq Cohen when he says that, because there's no reason for the Bears to trade Tariq Cohen. There's no reason for us to trade for Tariq Cohen. And if we did trade for Tariq Cohen, it would be so dumb. Because we got Boston Scott. You know what I mean? Like, it just, and I don't know if you saw that report, but yeah, it was Nick Foles, Tariq Cohen, and a first round pick. Yeah, you believe too. Yeah. And then Carson Wentz and a second round pick for all of that. And it just would have been stupid. It just would have been stupid. But here's the thing. If that's not true, then what do you think this trade actually is? Because it is the biggest offer. We know that. So what could it possibly be? And let's just speculate. Let's say Nick Foles isn't included in this trade at all. And that's just people jumping on the fact that there's a lot of people that wanted Nick Foles back in Philadelphia ever since he left. Let's just say that Nick Foles isn't included in this trade at all, but we're definitely getting a one, and we're definitely getting a player, maybe two. Who do you think we could possibly get from the Bears? Now, I saw a report that a good trade scenario would be like a first and a fourth and wide receiver Anthony Miller. What do you think about that? I also heard that San Fran might be jumping in at the last second, and that would be a huge one because the report I saw, and it was just a minor report, but the report I saw was just a first round pick from San Fran for Carson Wentz, nothing else. But it is big because it is the 12th pick in the draft. So. And do you think that if it were the Colts, do you think linebacker Darius Leonard is immovable? Because a linebacker is obviously something of need. And having Darius Leonard would be great for us. So. But while we're coming up with trade speculations, do you have a prediction for today's game, Franklin? I think I'm going to go with 34-23 Chiefs. Jimmy Graham, tight end Jimmy Graham. What about Jimmy Graham? Oh, I don't know, man. He's kind of a little long in the tooth these days, isn't he? He's a little long in the tooth. How old is Jimmy Graham now? Is he like 33? I think after moving Zach Ertz, I don't think with them under the impression of moving Zach Ertz and not wanting to pay him, I don't see them bringing in Jimmy Graham. I would have loved to have Jimmy Graham like 4 years ago. And if he was the only option, but I mean, there's Dallas Goedert, You heard the Raiders were interested. You heard the Raiders were interested? Is that a new report? I mean, I know the Raiders are definitely looking for. Here's the thing. Actually, that does not surprise me. Here's why. John Gruden loves Carson Wentz. John Gruden loves Carson Wentz. And that's a better move for Carson than the Bears are, honestly. It really is. But would Nelson Aguilar welcome that? Oh, good old Nelly. Good old Nelly Aggie. Good old Nelly Aguilar. I catch babies out of burning buildings better than Nelson Aguilar can catch a ball. Oy vey. Let me see here. Is that a new report? The one from the Raiders? That's perfect. I mean, that would be perfect. That would be a good scenario. That would be a really, really good scenario. I believe. I believe it to be true that it would be a good scenario for Carson to be traded to the Oakland Raiders. Yeah, I think something's gonna. I think a report's gonna be released tomorrow about the trade. I don't think Howie Roseman's gonna touch today's media with a 10-foot pole. It's kind of a. I mean, it wouldn't put it past me because he's a he's a little bit of a inconsiderate sheeshaw. But it's kind of an unspoken rule to not touch the Super Bowl media. Leave the Super Bowl be the Super Bowl. Let everybody enjoy the Super Bowl. Don't bring your drama into Super Bowl weekend. Just don't do it. All right. Yeah, if the Raiders are interested, that would be great. That would be great. I think it would still require a first round pick and a player. I wonder where they yeah, no Aguilar. No, I'm not saying trade for Aguilar. But he's playing for the Raiders. Unless it wasn't Nelson Aguilar who leaked that shit about Carson 2 years ago. And if it was Alshon Jeffrey, I think it was Alshon Jeffrey. I think it was that fucker, to be honest with you. He didn't try hard for Carson, and then all of a sudden he starts playing out of his mind for Jalen Hurts. And then he's smiling on the sideline like an asshole when he didn't even catch that ball. What pick in the first round do the Raiders have? Raiders first round pick. All right. Where do you think the dysfunction went wrong, Franklin? Where do you think it started? When do you think it started? I have a feeling I know who you think it started with. I think you and I agree on that. You heard about the Raiders thing from a YouTuber. Don't know where they got their information, but apparently it's somebody to do with the Raiders quarterback winning the Super Bowl. What YouTuber? Shabba-da-ba-ba-ba. I think that would be a phenomenal situation. And I think that they have a couple pieces in their secondary that they could probably send our way too, as well. So let me just look up. The Raiders will have the 17th pick in this year's draft. The Raiders will have the 17th pick in this year's draft, which would be even better than obviously the Bears. Bears pick. The Bears have 20. So that would be good. You know what I mean? Oh, you know what's interesting, actually, Franklin? I was listening to John Clark the other day, right? And her name is Missy Eagles 2017, no space. I think I've listened to Missy before. I think I've listened to it. Yeah. Yeah, she was good. I was listening to either John McMullen or John Clark the other day, and they brought up the idea of the Eagles trading Carson Wentz to the Raiders for a first-round pick and tight end Darren Waller. And that would be, yeah, that would be phenomenal. I would take Darren Waller in a heartbeat. He is like Kyle Pitts, just with a little bit more experience. You know what I'm saying? Let me. So I'm looking. So what I'm looking at right now is I'm looking at the Oakland Raiders. You also heard the Raiders are interested. Let me see here. So what I'm looking at right now is I am looking at the Raiders roster and just getting an idea of, is there any players that we could trade for? And Darren Waller is certainly one of them. You know what that would do? That would alleviate us from drafting Kyle Pitts. You know? That would relieve us from having to do that. And so therefore we could bring in a Jamar Chase, you know, or Devontae Smith. Or we could be okay with And honestly, if they get 2 first-round picks, like, and we get Darren Waller in that trade, like it should be Jamar Chase or Devontae Smith, and then get a defender with the second first-round pick. Like that should be a no thought. But then again, it's Ty Roseman who we're dealing with here, so we just got to remember that too. Oy vey. So there's safety Jonathan Abram, who I like a lot. I think he's good. There's Vic Beasley they could include in that trade, but it doesn't really make sense. Only in the sense that Vic Beasley as well is a little bit long in the tooth, and I think we need to get younger. We need to get younger. Not older. And I mean, we definitely don't. Yeah, we have Josh Sweat. You know, we don't really need Vic Beasley. Now, would Vic Beasley be good? Yeah, he'd be good. But do we want him? No. I've always liked Hunter Renfro, that wide receiver. I thought he was a little shifty, and I thought he was pretty good too. But outside of him, I mean, there's Daryl Worley. What do you think of that? What do you think of Daryl Worley, cornerback? Well, we'll just have to see. But I mean, the trade speculation is open for conversation because clearly, as we know, the Tariq Cohen denying the reports was not a good sign for the integrity of the reports. So it really could be anything at this point. We do probably know that it's big, but it definitely could be anything at this point. And there's always the opportunity that the Colts can make a counteroffer. There's always the opportunity that San Fran can jump in, and I do believe that they are. And it sounds like the Raiders are interested as well. So this thing is not done, but I do believe it is definitely close to being done, and we are definitely going to hear something over the next couple days. Franklin, as far as my player reviews are concerned, I decided to make a last-minute change. I am going to have an even more in-depth review for the player reviews, and I'm bringing on one of my great buddies who loves talking about the draft, and so we are going to tag team that together once we get our schedules set up. But that's probably going to be sometime this week, my man. So, but hey, Franklin, thank you for joining in, my man. You are awesome. And again, please leave any questions or comments or anything that we missed that we just didn't talk about in the comment box below. You have a beautiful evening, man. Have some great food. Enjoy the Super Bowl, man, and stay safe and stay healthy. One love. Go Birds, baby.